16 right now. During her visit to the Big Apple yesterday, First Lady Michelle Obama admitted that her kids are too young for Facebook.
That's understandable, but how young is too young to have that sex talk with your children? Psychologist and author Dr. Lawrence Balter joins us now with more on the answers to that. We asked that yesterday because we're having a frank discussion about sex and had to deal with college students. But how young is too young, sex ed?
Well, you know, it may sound provocative, but it's never too young. You start in the nursery.
Really?
I know it sounds silly, but the you know, when you talk about it really begins by naming body parts for little kids. You know, you talk about, this is your nose, this is your ear, this is your toes. Well, why not talk about what's so-called private parts, too?
Well, you say don't use cute little, you have a million names.
I do have a lot of names.
I call them kibbles and bits. What do you call them?
I call them everything in between.
But why do that? That's really the interesting thing. I say don't use cutesy names or slang terms because it suggests to it, you don't have a special name for the nose or for your knee. Well, it gives a kid the idea there's something sneaky or wrong or it's special in some ways that it shouldn't be. So I don't suggest that. Use the right terminology. Get used to it. People are awkward about using the correct terminology.
And you're also saying playing doctor. What does that mean, playing doctor?
Well, kids are always caught. I mean, no kid invents this game really because it's been going on for generations. Kids around preschool age generally find themselves together getting undressed, inspecting each other's bodies, looking each other over.
They do check you out. I mean, my son all the time when I'm getting dressed and stuff, they're fascinated.
Well, why not, though? Because they're just curious. I think the important thing is you don't want to promote their playing doctor. If you see two kids together, then you say, okay, let's go inside and have a snack, or let's do something else. But understand not to humiliate them or embarrass them.
What about them touching themselves? I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know about Kieran, but at 18 months, my daughter, I mean, she's young, but she's like always exploring down there, you know what I mean? And I feel bad if I stop her, then does she get the idea, even at that age, that that's wrong? What do you do if you find them exploring themselves?
With a very young child, 18 months old, I don't think you should do anything because it feels good and they're examining their own bodies.
What about a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old?
Then you say, this is something that's done in private. If they're doing it in front of people, this is something done in private. Go into your own room if you're going to do that and interrupt them. The main thing is not to punish them or make it seem like it's a bad thing.
How about that with a teenager? You run into your teenager, touching themselves.
Well, then you just turn around and you don't do anything because teenagers, we know, are really exploring and acting and experimenting. But with a teenager, you just leave yourself open to questions, but I wouldn't be intrusive with a teenager.
Intrusive, right? Because, you're right, they are experimenting with everything.
Yes, and it's a lifelong I mean, I shouldn't say lifelong, but it's throughout childhood. Some parents say, when should I have that big conversation?
Yeah, that sex talk, when does it happen, Larry?
But don't. You start when they're babies, and kids look for opportunities.
Yeah, but you have to have that sex talk about what goes on and how you protect yourself when you start that talk.
When they get older, then you talk about health, and you talk about some of the risks.
Give me an age.
But while they're young,
for the serious repercussions of sex, what age?
Just preteen, because they're hearing everything all around them. The middle school years, they're hearing everything about everything.
Okay.
All right, preteen, that's a lot to think about, right?
But the kids
we got a few years.
The kids shouldn't be punished. They shouldn't be humiliated. They shouldn't be made ashamed for any questions they have. You need to have them be your confidants and talk to you about things.
Yeah, because that's the best thing. Larry Balter, thank you so much for stopping by and having a little frank discussion about sex and how parents can deal with it. We appreciate that. 8:19 right now. The terror threat we face right now is in the highest it's been since September 11th. You know what? We're getting our funding cut. What does it all mean? What's being done to keep us safe? We're going to try and answer that question.
Got that, plus Lisa Mateo's hanging out.